and welcome back. This is Behind the Eye of Odin, and I'm Eric. This time we're going to talk about Othila. Now, Othila is the rune of separation. A lot of you right now are wondering why I haven't done Dagaz yet, but in my opinion, Dagaz comes last. I'll explain that a little bit later, maybe in the Dagaz video, maybe this time, we'll see. But Othila comes first. Now, Othila is a rune of separation, inheritance, change, personal change, and your heritage. Now, Othila is not talking about as much of everything that you've inherited from your parents, your blue eyes, blonde hair, red facial, whatever, your height, weight, ear shape and size. That's not so much what we're talking about here when we're talking about heritage. It's more about what you've learned from them and how you are as a person because of your family and your background, basically. It's your understanding of things, your educational style, if you will. It's a matter of the things you have as a person because of the things your parents and or your guardian, significant other, siblings, whatever, gave you growing up. What I mean by this is, like, for example, I have a rather skewed sense of self. The reason I have that is because I grew up with, including myself, eight siblings in my family. Myself plus 7. And my sense of self, my sense of self-worth is balanced out by the fact that I'm neither the oldest nor the youngest, so I'm definitely one of the middle children. I don't see myself as more important than anybody else, but I also don't see myself as less important than anybody else. That's something that I gained from my siblings. My sense of empathy and desire to help other people, I get that from my mom. It's not physically inherited so much as it's mentally and socially inherited. That's what I mean by heritage. Inheritance, on the other hand, is something I see a little bit differently. I see that also as the traits that you gain from the people that you consider family, but also Othila can talk specifically about wealth, whether that's money or land or items of value, be it jewelry or property. I always wanted my dad's old Chevy sedan. I think it was even, I think it was given away to one of his siblings. That's an entirely different story. But the inheritance part of Othila is actually what you physically receive from your family. Now, one of the major sticking points to me with Othila is the need to give something up to gain something else. That's one of the more important parts of Othila, is the separation of yourself from some aspect that either just no longer fits you or is no longer available to you in its functional form. Once you separate yourself with that, you can gain something else in its place, or as I don't want to say replacement, but I would go so far as to say a crutch. That's not the right word, but I think you guys know what I mean. So, say for example, I wanted to move into a clergy position in my local Christian sect. That's not going to happen. Don't get all worried and freaked out on me or anything. But say I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted for myself. Well, to do that, I would have to wear clothing all the time that covered all of my tattoos, if that was against their religion or against their beliefs. If I wanted to do that, I would have to no longer be pagan and no longer believe that any of this has any sway whatsoever. Now, that's an example of an extraordinarily extreme situation that if I wanted that, I would have to give up all this. Now, that can be simplified a little bit more and put into personal practice. For example, if I want more time to carve runes, because I still love carving runes. I haven't done it in quite a while. It's been a couple of months is all. But if I wanted more time to carve runes, or to go back to doing nothing on my free time but reading about the runes, which I still do plenty of the time, but if I wanted more time for that, I would have to give up some other activity. I might have to, give up one of my channels, either this one or the Pagan Perspective. I don't want to do either, so I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But if I had such a driving force that I felt the need to go back to it on a regular, more often, all the time basis, as opposed to just making time for it sometimes, I would have to give something up to gain that time instead. And this is the major point of Othila, is separation to gain. Now, if you're doing it well, I can't say correctly because I can't say what is and is not appropriate. But if you're doing it well, you should be getting more back in your own decisions. When somebody dies and leaves you an inheritance, there is no telling whether or not the value that they leave you is going to make up for the loss of their existence in your life. But when it's a personal decision, you make that decision hoping that you come out on top. Now, if you're engaging in bad behaviors and you're getting in trouble and you want to stop getting in trouble, then stop doing the bad behaviors, and giving up those behaviors is going to gain you more time making your own decisions and being free to make those decisions. These are all just really examples of Othila. Once again, and as I've said before, I'm repeating myself because I feel that these points are important to make. It is your giving something up, or the loss of something, to gain something in its place. Now, these are my thoughts on Othila, and I will get to Dagaz, and I'll explain why Dagaz comes last in my next video. But until then, thanks for watching, and Odin be with you.
Step into the other world, into the womb where centuries pass like a day. The crane, the wolf, the bear and the boar no longer dwell upon these shores. You say the goddess and God have gone, but I tell you they live on, for in the cities and hills and in circles of stone, the voices of the old ways, the spirit of Albion is calling.